Obviously, happy to be coming off a win. I thought it was good that we responded, especially after the week we had at Coastal Carolina, and then coming back, being able to play a little bit better at home, and be able to get that win. Still, I think defense is really progressing. I think that they're getting better and better each week. Still inconsistent on the offense, and looking to get better there, and try to continue to grow as a unit, and be a little bit more, because I believe we left some points out on the field last week that we should have got on the scoreboard. But shout out to Eagle Nation for coming out, man. It was a lot of energy, really awesome night in Paulson with ESPN. And I just thought it was, especially in the situation we're in with the pandemic, just thought it was great energy. Got a huge challenge this week as we go up against Troy. Obviously, they're a team that really got after us last year, and we haven't had much success against them in the last 3 years. And, I know this is one that our guys would really like to get, and I know we as coaches would like to get. And so we're going to go to work hard, and see if we can get it done.
Coach, you mentioned that the defense played a lot better, didn't really give up any of those big plays that you did against Coastal and some of the ones that have hurt you this year. But you mentioned you're still a little bit, wanting the offense to kind of get going. Where are you guys with that? Are you in the offensive rooms, and as far as game planning and what are we doing wrong? What do we need to work on? What kind of things are you guys throwing around in there that you feel like, okay, that's working, this isn't working? How does that offensive meetings go?
I think the big piece is let's play to the strengths of our team. Let's play to the strengths of our offense. Obviously, Wesley Kennedy is a guy that has really throughout his career made plays for us as an offense, and continues to do that. So again, he's got to be a focal point in our offense. I think the big piece with Shy Wertz is continue to let's do the things that he's good at. Let's make sure that we put him in a situation where he can be successful in the pass game, but also make great decisions in the run game, and just making sure that we narrow it down to that. I think when you start thinking about our offense, I think the most important thing is we go as Shy goes, but also too we got to make sure J.D. King's heavily involved, and we got to make sure Wesley Kennedy's heavily involved. And then we have some good players at other positions that we like to get involved. But again, we've got to work off those three first, and we got to get that stuff going. So I think the big piece is just when we meet as an offense, that we make sure that we're doing what our guys can do, and making sure that we keep it simple for them so they can go out there and play fast and play confident and get after it. I do feel like our offense did play better last week. Obviously we would want more points on the scoreboard instead of 24. We had the opportunity, in my opinion. We should have been 35 or better in that game. We stumped our toe with a holding call down there that made us settle for a field goal. And then we also had a snap over the quarterback's head that put us in a tough third and long situation. And we weren't able to capitalize on those two opportunities there. I do think we came out with a slow start in the first quarter, and then we allowed South Alabama to really dominate the time of possession in that first quarter, and so we wasn't able to get off to a good start. But I thought the second quarter, I thought we were moving it around, and other those two self-inflicted wounds, we had an opportunity to put points on the board there. Came out a little sluggish in the third quarter, but again, we picked up steam. We continued to trust the triple option that we've been running. And that was something that South Alabama didn't adjust very well to. And we were able to get those 14 points in the fourth quarter that basically won the game for us. And then I go to the last two drives of the fourth quarter. We're in a 4-minute situation. And, I think we were in a really good situation to finish out the game. We called a reverse on the third down call on the next to last drive. And that was actually, it was what I asked for. I'd asked for that reverse. Unfortunately, we didn't block the corner, but if we'd have got the corner blocked, that would have sealed the game. But again, I think the defense did a good job to step up, finish off the game. Derek Canteen made an awesome play at the end. And then our offense came out and did a really good job to go ahead and run that clock out to win the game.
Do you feel like the offense doesn't seem like you guys have had as many big plays? And I don't know if that's something that's, is that by design, you're just trying to grind things out, or do you feel like teams are kind of catching on to your offense, especially the Sun Belt teams? Do you feel like the scheme is solid and that those big plays will come?
I do. I'm not real sure. I mean, you may be accurate in that statement about explosive plays, but I know we had two explosive plays in the pass offense. I know Wesley had a really explosive play, coming off a goal line in the game. I think there's probably a little bit more explosive plays there than maybe people are feeling just because of the points on the scoreboard. But you could be accurate there, and I don't want to misspeak on that. I don't think it's really that. I just think a lot of things when we look at the season, I think just shooting ourselves in the foot and not really taking care of, we got a small margin of error, and we can't put ourselves in a situation where we're behind the chains. I think the big piece to us is you got to stay away from negative plays, and you got to make sure you stay on track and stay on schedule.
Hey, Coach, what are some of the keys you guys are focusing on for this Saturday's game against Troy?
Well, the big piece on defense, we've got to be ready to play the up-tempo offense. They've got really good skill people. They got an offensive line that does a good job of protecting the quarterback, and they can establish the run if they choose to. I do believe that they try to set the run up by establishing the pass first. So we got to be very good in the secondary. We got, this is one of those games we were, with South Alabama, we did a good job of getting to the quarterback. But against Troy, they're going to try to catch and throw. So there's not going to be a lot of opportunities to get to the quarterback, get pressure on him. So we got to do a really good job in the secondary. We got to play the route concepts very well. And then we've got to be able to get lined up and make the play or get the play called and get everything communicated before they snap it. Last year we struggled with that with the up tempo of Troy's offense. And I think our guys are dialed into that. We're going to try to simulate it as best we can this week. Again, we're not going to be as good at it as Troy is because that's what they do. But again, we got to put our guys on defense into a situation where that they feel a little bit stressed with that up tempo, so that Saturday's not the first time they're feeling that. Offensively, when you go against Troy's defense, they're very athletic guys that play very sound and run to the ball. I think the biggest challenge that comes with their defense is they play a lot of multiple fronts, and I think that's a lot to do with their personnel. I think their defensive personnel makes them very versatile, and they can jump in and out of different fronts. So we're going to have to be very sharp offensively to be able to make sure we understand what we're attacking, when we're attacking, and how we're attacking it. Because I don't see them really changing up from what they did last year, because they were very successful. They were able to get to our quarterback anytime that we tried to throw the ball last year. A lot of sacks in that game. So again, I think the big challenge is going to be make sure that we don't get behind the chains, get off schedule. We got to make sure we take the fight to them.
Coach, you've struggled against Troy. I mean, you've done really well against that, but Troy's been a team that's beaten you the last 3 seasons, and you mentioned some of the things that they've been able to do to you when you've played them. Is there any thoughts I mean, I know you're not going to make any major changes, but is there something that they do? I know you mentioned the hurry up, things like that you guys have struggled with in the past that you feel like you've got a handle on this time around against playing Troy?
Well, again, I think the big piece is the way we attack the hurry up, to make sure our guys are set, ready. They've got the play. They've got it communicated. Obviously, we're not going to be a wholesale change on anything, but I think the big piece is make sure that our guys understand how fast it is going to come at them. I don't know if they're as high tempo as they've been, but I know they will be high tempo this week because they obviously had success about it throughout the game last year against us. And so we're going to try to throw it at our defense as fast as we can this week to at least try to simulate it. We're not going to wholesale change, but I do think it's important that we simplify into the fact that we can make the calls and get them in there and make sure that they're ready to go. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody can match routes, and we can make sure that we're getting any pressure if we match routes. Because I think that's going to be the big piece is if our linebackers and our DBs can make sure they're either on top of the route or underneath the route. That makes the quarterback hold the ball longer, and then I'll allow, we got a pretty talented defensive line, and if we make them hold the ball a little bit longer, hopefully we can get there. So I think that's the big piece, is just making sure our cleats are in the ground and our calls made, and we're all on the same page and our guys do their jobs.
Coach, I know you want to take every day you can to prepare for a football game. However, tomorrow being election day and the team being off, how important and special do you think that is to give the guys the opportunity to take the day off?
Well, I don't look at it as taking a day off. I think it's an opportunity to make a change. Whatever our guys feel like is important, as far as who they're supporting or who they're going to vote for. This is something that, hindsight with our program, I wish this was something that we had already established with our program. Now, we were one of the first programs to come out and say, hey, we were not going to practice on election day. That was even before the NCAA mandated it. But that was our choice. I think this is something that should be done each and every year. I know there's some coaches out there, because early voting's happened and a lot of guys have already voted, which a lot of our guys on our team have, and already have taken care of their vote. Still, I think the specialness, the importance of election day should be, adhered to, because it's got to be bigger than ball. And, I think we're missing the boat as a college football coach, or even a college staff, or even college athletics, if we sit here and say, well, this is not important, because I do think it's important. And I think that the more we can bring real world stuff into our program, the more conversations we can have, I think the more important, that in the grand scheme of things, that's the most important thing for our guys, because we need to be able to help educate them on how you vote, why you vote, and, and then let them make their decision. So I think this is really good. I think it's something that, we need to continue to carry on here at Georgia Southern as a football program, and I have no problem doing that.
Coach, I know every team's different, every year is different, but when a team kind of has your number the way Troy has had you guys number the last 3 years, is it something you talk about in team meetings as motivation, or just is it something you bring up to the team, or does it need to be brought up?
Do you want coach speak, or you want the truth?
The truth would be great.
It's personal. I mean, we've lost 3 times to them in a row. And I mean, it's just like I told the guys last year. I mean, we in 15, 16, 17, we lost 3 straight times to App State, and we needed to flip the script. And that's what we need to do with Troy. Now, I'm not saying we can do it, but I mean, that needs to be the challenge. We need to come out firing on all cylinders, and we need to throw as many punches as we can punch and give everything we got to change the narrative.
Coach, the fine line of sideline juice and then going over the line. I know you were a little disappointed in a couple of the things that happened, but the flip side of that is they seem more engaged. How do you walk the line there between getting them fired up on the sidelines and knowing when to stop when the whistle blows?
Well, let me say this about our guys. I'm not disappointed in them at all. I do think there was probably a little bit more extracurricular activity than should have been. I'm not saying that that was all our fault. And I don't have a problem with our guys, sticking up for themselves and doing what they need to do when it's right. The big piece I asked them was, take that fire between the snap and the whistle, and prove it during that when it matters. All the jawing, all the stuff that happens after the play, that's unnecessary. We don't need that. However, I think it's very important that our guys celebrate with one another, when you make a play. I think it's very important that there's a lot of energy when something good happens, because I think that feeds into the rest of our football team. And I think you saw that last Thursday night, because when plays happen, I mean, there was a lot of juice on that sideline because people were engaged. But again, I think where we have to be really good at it is we've got to be engaged without there being trash talk and out things that maybe another team says to us that has to get us going. We got to get ourselves going anyway. So I think there's a fine line. I don't want to take away our guys' edge and how they feel about, people that come in and maybe you feel like maybe have disrespected you, on your own field. But again, we've got to be smart and we kind of make sure we don't hurt ourselves in those situations and really take it out on the other team between the snap and whistle.
Hey, Coach, what goes through your mind when you see that the Troy quarterback gets hurt and the backup quarterback who hadn't played in 2 years or hadn't started in 2 years throws for over 300 yards and then in his first start throws for over 400 yards? What does that tell you about that guy and also about the way their offense is operating?
Man, I tell you what, it scares me to death. I mean, you got a next man up mentality. That guy's able to come in there and do that like that. Shoot, I don't even know if we should show up Saturday.
Do you use that as an example to your own players about a guy stepping up and being ready? It must be hard to have people be that sharp if they haven't played in 2 years.
Oh, there's no question. But I mean, if you look at it, I mean, when he came in against Georgia State, you could obviously tell that he's a good player. However, he had not taken the majority of the reps going into that game. Going into this past game, I would assume, and I don't know, I would assume that he took majority of the reps going into the Ark State game. And when he got those reps, that was able to get him ready for that game. And he showed that he's a really good player. And that's awesome for Coach Lindsey and their team to have a backup quarterback that can go in there and do that. But again, we got to be sound at what we do. We can't worry about how good or how bad a player is. We can't worry about if it's the first string quarterback or second string quarterback. Now, the thing that I do think that helps us is that at least that quarterback is a guy that fits their system and they're not really having to change up their system by putting in another quarterback. Now, the starter may be back this week. I don't know. But again, we'll be preparing for the same offense.
Thanks.
How would you assess, halfway through the season, 6 games in, 4-2 record so far? How would you assess this team so far?
You're asking about our team?
Yes, Georgia Southern.
I think the potential is really there to be an awesome football team. I do not think we've played our best football game yet. And I'm hoping that's going to start to happen soon. I hope we start to break through some of the things that's been hurting us very soon. I do like how we progressed. I think there's a lot of different things. And again, this is not an excuse because everybody in the country is going through it. Not having an off season, not being able to develop at certain positions, during the off season and during the first part of camp. I think that's a part of what's showing with us, because we do have some very experienced players, but we also are playing a lot of young players. And again, like our defensive secondary, I think they are really progressing. I think they're, from game one to now, I think they've really come on. And again, that'll be a big challenge this week to see if they can continue to do that. However, I think that there's been some positions that we didn't develop all the way yet, but I think we're working very hard to do that. And I think our best football is in front of us. And again, we just got to continue to trust the process and not sit there and go, man, let's just scrap everything. Let's just do away with everything and understand that we do have a plan in place and our kids believe in the plan, and our coaches believe in the plan, and we're going to go to work every day and we're going to play our butts off. And if it has to be a 1-point win or if it's a 30-point win, as long as we win, we win. And that's what matters.
Coach, you talk about having a bunch of young players on the defensive side step in. Talk about the progression of Derek Canteen. Like you said, made some great key stops against South Alabama, had a couple of picks against UMass and Coastal Carolina. Yeah,
I'm very happy and excited for Derek Canteen. He's showing that he's exactly the guy that we recruited. He was a guy that wasn't highly rated, didn't have a lot of stars, anything like that. And I know people get caught up in all that all the time. But that guy's a perfect fit for Georgia Southern because that guy comes in and works every day and he works on his craft every day. I don't know if he's going to be the caliber and be drafted like Kendall Vildor, but he reminds me a lot of Kendall, especially with his work ethic. When Kendall came in, was very hungry. Kendall went to work every day. I mean, there were times where I say, hey, man, Kendall, you got to slow down a little bit. You're doing way too much. Well, that's the way Derek Canteen is. And with all our guys, if I got to say, I'd rather say whoa than go with them. And he's a guy that's like that. You have to, you may have to slow him down a little bit. But I think he's going to end up being a really good football player for Georgia Southern, and I think we're going to be very happy we had him here. That all y'all got?
Thanks.
All right. Thank y'all, and GATA.